Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to This Just In. Thank you for joining me today. In this video, we're going to go over PENN Gaming Stock. I think it is one of the best online gambling stocks that you can buy right now. They just got a price upgrade by a couple different analysts, and they also had a couple acquisitions with Score Media. So I wanted to give you my thoughts on where I see it going for the rest of the year. So let's jump right in. All right, guys, before we get started today, subscribe to the channel for me. Hit that little bell so you get notified every time I post. There's also a link down in the top pinned comment to my Patreon account. Come over and join the family. We've got an awesome community over there. You'll get access to the private Discord where we talk stocks, all of my portfolios, anytime I buy or sell a stock for high conviction fundamental analysis plays, and then all of the swing trade setups that I send out, which is absolutely the most valuable aspect. We have had a ton of winners lately, a lot of people making money. That way you can learn to identify them, how to set your stop loss, take profit, price targets, things like that. We've also got a lot of education so you can just become a much better investor overall. But you definitely want to check that out. We've only got a few tiers or a few spots left down on that $10 tier. Once that's done, I'm going to unlist that tier, and I am raising the price up just a little bit. This is going to be the last time I raise it. So if it's something you're interested in, if you want to be a part of the channel, support the community, be a part of a squad, come check it out. I know you'll love it. Day One Squad, I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. It means so much to me. Guys, real quick, there's also my Instagram and Twitter links down in the descriptions. Come give me a follow. I'm going to be posting a lot more consistently on those with just updates, charts, any, alerts or anything like that, and that way you can kind of get a more frequent, update rather than just when I make the videos. So definitely come do that. I would really appreciate it. Again, Instagram and Twitter down in the description. Go check those out. I've also got a tip link down in the description as well, guys, if you want to support the channel or if you want me to analyze a stock and make a video where I go over the fundamentals and technicals of any stock that you want me to check out. Just tip me $10 and I will have a video made within 24 hours of the donation. So thank you again, guys. Let's get started. Today I want to go over PENN National Gaming Stock, guys. This is one that I did send out to the Patreon, as a trade setup. This is one that I made in a video that I did a few weeks back on short-term swing trade setups. I got a lot of conviction in this stock. I think it's going to do very, very well. They also just acquired and made an acquisition on Score Media, which is another company that I liked a lot. It was a Canadian online gambling and sports betting company. I actually sent a trade out on them months ago when it was at like $15, and then it jumped clear up to 40. Now they are no longer listed because of the acquisition. So if you owned them, if you owned SCR, Score Gaming, before the PENN Stock acquisition, your shares will then get converted to PENN Stock at a much smaller rate. So like if you had one share of Score Gaming, I believe the exchange rate is like 0.29 PENN shares for every one Score share you had. So you will get that. It's not fully done yet, so I think if you had those shares, it'll probably just show up as like nothing in your account right now, but just give it some time and that will switch over. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the PENN National Gaming stock getting a price upgrade and a buy rating, and what that same analyst firm said about Draftkings and Rush Street Interactive. For those of you guys that follow the channel, I love Rush Street Interactive. Think that stock's a total sleeper. Think it's going to do very well. They've won Casino Operator of the Year. They just kill it. They're mainly focused on online gambling versus just sports betting, and I really like that because it's a bigger total addressable market, appeals to a much bigger demographic, women and all sorts of different types of people, where sports is just much more narrow, but still a big industry nonetheless. So let's jump in and get started. This is just the article headline of the Score Gaming acquisition. As you can see, it was approved and closed on October 19th. It will take a couple of weeks to get everything finalized and finished up, but as you can see, that did finish up on the 19th. This is going to be nice for PENN because it's going to give them access to that entire Canadian market. Score Gaming did have a cool platform. They did have a lot of users. I think it's going to help PENN, tremendously. I don't think it's going to be something that's going to drastically alter the business or make or break anything because it is a really small company. And the Canadian market's like 1/10 of the US when it comes to online gambling, but I do think it will kind of put that cherry on top. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump over and take a look at the price upgrade from Roth. And I saw a couple other analysts give PENN PENN a price target or a price upgrade. But I wanted to show you this article because it's kind of funny. It's kind of what I've been saying over the last couple of months. As you can see here, guys, PENN National Gaming is slotted way above Draftkings at Roth, while Rush Street is called a sleeper. How many times have I called Rush Street Interactive a sleeper, or a, you know, just a stock that everybody looks over because it's not exciting. It's not Draftkings. Draftkings is a huge company in the sense of like marketing and branding. They literally spend more money on marketing than they even make. And I don't see that being sustainable for, you know, very much longer. I do think it's a good idea right now because they're just pushing and pushing and pushing, getting their name out there, commercials, you see Draftkings everywhere. But overall, Rush Street Interactive, they don't have to do that to grow their business you know, as quickly, and they're much more profitable. So I really like Rush Street Interactive because they've got that just kind of, you know, sleeper vibe to them. They've got, you know, Casino Operator of the Year, like 3 or 4 years running, like they just kill it. And their total addressable market is much bigger because it's the online gambling. So it appeals to women and an older demographic, and Draftkings just focuses on sports. So now the reason why I like PENN is because they have hotels. They've got real actual physical casino games like table games. They've got the online sports betting. They've got the Barstool Sports, which is massive, guys. Barstool Sports has so many members and so many subscribers. That whole thing, you know, is huge for PENN. And then now they've got the Canadian market, you know, with the Score Media acquisition, and PENN just has a big, you know, well-known brand in the States as is. So I really like PENN down at these levels. I didn't like it so much up at the 140 level, but now that it's down at the $70 level, I do think that there's substantial upside from that area. As you guys can see here, we won't run, you know, go through this whole thing. I just wanted to show you a couple of things here. This is why the analyst Edward Engel and team initiated the coverage of buy on PENN. I'll just kind of read this to you. We believe Barstool and My Choice offer the most efficient and complementary customer acquisition channels in online gaming. While investors are concerned with PENN's ability to bring online sports betting technology in-house, we see an opportunity to adapt a hybrid model where PENN leverages an evolving ecosystem of highly specialized risk and trading functions from emerging third-party B2B service providers. So again, guys, in online gambling, customer acquisition cost is everything. Draftkings does not have a good customer acquisition cost, as hence the over expense on marketing. They just spend so much to try to get one client. PENN doesn't have to do that with that Barstool Sports and that app that they're making, where they've got the PENN app and then the Barstool app, and there's like well over 2 million members on the Barstool Sports app that PENN can directly cross market to, and then PENN's got their loyalty program that they can cross sell to. So the cross sells, the customer acquisition cost, all of those things are going to give PENN a big advantage when it comes to keeping costs down and having big revenue, you know, when it comes to per user or per customer basis. Plus they've got all the different avenues. So very, very nice. As you can see here, Roth slots PENN with a price target of $107 to represent upwards of 40% upside from the current levels. This article is, you know, a couple of weeks old, but PENN's still around the same price as when it was written, around that $73 range, but $107 upside is quite the upside from current areas, and I actually think it could potentially go higher. Last thing I want to read, I thought this was really interesting. It says, meanwhile, Roth starts off coverage on Draftkings with a sell rating. While we're bullish on US online gaming, we do not believe that 70% market share for the three leaders, FanDuel, BetMGM, and Draftkings is sustainable, and see Draftkings conceding market share as a mid-tier operators ramp up customer acquisition and better cross-sell legacy casino customers. Again, customer acquisition cost. What these guys are pretty much saying is they don't think that Draftkings can maintain the level of market share that they've got, while all of these other legacy casinos like PENN, BetMGM, you know, Rush Street Interactive are able to cross-sell to their current audience, Barstool Sports and all those other ones, and they think that Draftkings is going to end up giving market share away. I feel the same way. I actually ended up selling Draftkings and picking up Genius Sports, because if I'm going to take a higher risk on a you know, a low revenue or higher multiple stock, I'm going to pick Genius Sports over Draftkings honestly most of the time. I like Rush Street because they're actually profitable. I like PENN because they're actually profitable. And I really like Genius Sports because they've kind of got they've integrated themselves in the structure of all of this. And I have made a video on that where I go much further in depth that I will link above. Last thing here, guys. As you can see, Roth assigns a price target of $41 to Draftkings, which is about 16% downside from current levels. I actually think Draftkings is a little bit higher than what it was when they wrote this article, but the overall verdict here is they think Draftkings is about a $40 stock, which is, you know, I can agree with that. I do think that Draftkings has a lot of hype behind it. I think they've got a big, well-known brand, but I do think that I would rather put my money in Penn, Rush Street Interactive, and Genius Sports 10 times over again. But okay, guys, I want to jump in one last thing and show you the fundamental analysis. This is just an intrinsic value sheet. It's a discounted free cash flow model, a little bit simplified, but overall does the trick. I love using this sheet because it helps me come up with an intrinsic value based off of some assumptions and what they're currently doing. As you can see here, guys, I put in all of their data. I put in the metrics of the price, shares outstanding. I put in, and this is trailing 12 months. I put in most recent revenue, most recent net income, most recent free cash flow. And then as far as growth rates go, that's why I like this sheet, because I can be conservative, I can be aggressive, and I decided to be really conservative. As you guys can see here, they are currently growing revenue in their trailing 12 months at about 20% year over year. Now they are coming off of COVID, which is a down year. Their average revenue growth over the last 5 years is upwards of like 17% still. I think that they can grow at 10% for the next 5 years, you know, no questions asked. So I put it about 9% to be a little bit more conservative, and then 5% in perpetuity from there with a discount of about 10%. As far as net income margin, they are currently doing about 8% right on, so I just kept it there. And as far as free cash flow margin, they're doing like 17%, but I wanted to be conservative, so I did it about 14%. So this is honestly on the low end from what I think. As you can see here, by doing all of that, I come up with $103 for my intrinsic value of Penn National Gaming today. I think that's pretty reasonable. They did about 107. I've seen other analysts around 99. I've seen some analysts as high as 150 and some even as low as 60. So I think 103 for PENN Gaming stock is more than reasonable. You know, I think that the price at $73 does give you more than enough upside to that current level. And I do think that Penn can even go higher than 103 over the course of a few years. If you are buying it for the long term, I think these levels are great. If you're wanting to buy it for more of the short term, let's jump in and take a look at the chart and kind of give you my thoughts there. Real quick before we do that though, if I was to up the cash flow margin to what they're actually doing, take a look at what it does, 126. If I was to up the growth rate to what they're actually doing, it would probably even be a lot higher. So I do think that Penn National Gaming is a little undervalued at the current levels. So let's jump in and take a look at the chart and we'll wrap it up. Guys, this is a really good looking chart. I've sent this out to the Patreons a few different times because I love what it's looking like in the short term. Unfortunately, it has underperformed on what I thought it was going to do. However, I do think that once we break the inflection point, it's going to do very, very well. One thing I want to point out, guys, this is like chart art, just so beautiful. As you can see from the COVID crash, you could have bought this stock at $4 during the COVID crash, and then it ran and it stayed inside this trend channel, and it hit a high of like $143 back in March when all of the high multiple stocks were running like crazy. I definitely thought that was overvalued, but it has since dumped all the way back down, literally cut more than in half, and found its base at around $63. This is a very good looking chart, guys. You've got an inflection zone, you've got a bullish shark pattern, so you've got a run up, then you've got an 80 to 90% retracement from the major discernible low to the high. Once you found your bottom, you had your first low, second low, third low. Now, I typically like to get a little bit of a bigger reaction before coming back for a type 2 return and then a type 2 reversal to give us that bigger move to the upside. You typically always get your first reaction low, and then you usually get a second confirmation low. That's what I like to trade. However, we are getting the higher lows. Now, we are getting some congestion around these this inflection point from these highs from back here in September. I think that once you break those highs, that $76 to $73 range, you're going to see Penn make some quick moves to the upside. It's really 76, 75 is that area, which is that wick high from back here in September. I think once you break that, you know, 96.59 after that, you break 96.59, 128, I'll see you there. I did put the second target in the middle of that, up there at about 110.99, just to get some extra profit off the table before we get there. Now, typically on big bullish sharks like this or big harmonics like this, your aggressive price targets are B, C, and A, or B, A, and C, whatever, however you want to call it. So my price targets are even a little bit more conservative than that, and putting the second target in between the A and the B point, which I think is absolutely reasonable. One thing I want to point out here, guys, you had your first low, second low, which also created the terminal bar, and then you had hidden bullish divergence on your MACD on the daily, which is implying a continuation to the upside. That's exactly what you want to see after a first and second low like that. One bad thing here, we did break a demand line that was manufactured at the pattern completion zone. However, guys, that happens all the time. If you remember the Lithium Americas trade that I sent out and I made the video on, it broke that demand line twice. It looked like it was going in the wrong direction multiple times before running to much higher prices and hitting all 3 targets within a few weeks. So I think PENN is just kind of absorbing the remaining demand, picking up those extra orders from people that lost money up here, bought in at the top, kind of got that overhang, that overhead resistance. But I think once all of that remaining supply is absorbed, you're going to see PENN make some serious moves. As you guys can see here, we are sitting at about 50, I think that's 50 dead on the RSI. So you're not quite in the bullish control zone yet. You are getting a bullish engulfing candle today after kind of having a bad couple of days on the last week. I think every day last week, finished lower than the day before. Now, if we can start the week, close this bullish engulfing candle back in the inflection zone, and then get a couple of days where we get higher prices than we did the previous day on the close, I think that you're going to be heading towards higher prices rather quickly. You do have earnings coming up in like 3 days, so that's something you want to watch out for. If you do not own this stock, I would not buy it right here. Wait until you get either a spring, back test a spring at the top of the inflection zone, because then what can happen, guys? Then you can plot your stop loss right under the inflection zone and save yourself from, getting a lot of hurt. If it doesn't break the inflection zone and it dumps back down to give us a second major low at the, the initial pattern completion zone inflection point, what do? You set your stop loss below that inflection zone. So you're really setting up at least a 3-to-1 risk reward on all of your trades wherever you take it. So again, guys, either here or here. Don't take it below. You either want to take it above 76 or right as close to 63 as possible. You don't want to take it as soon as, if it breaks this and keeps moving down and it holds here, you want to wait until you get some bullish indicator that it's moving back up towards the upside. A couple of things here, guys. We are trying to break up above that 50-day moving average. Your 200-day moving average is starting to curl down a little bit, so you just want to watch this. I think, however, if we get some good earnings, a lot of analysts are predicting PENN's going to post negative earnings or decreased earnings. I actually think they're going to show increased earnings because they have been doing very, very well. So we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, guys, if it's a long-term hold for you, I think these prices are just fine. If it's a short-term, swing trade for you, wait until you get a much better indication that PENN is going to start moving to the upside before taking an entry. Take it strategically, place your stop loss strategically, and you will do just fine. Again, price targets 96, 110, 128. And above that, you would have to use your fib extensions, but let's get to the first and second first. That's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. This video is for entertainment purposes only. I am not a licensed stockbroker. Always do your own research and due diligence. Don't just take my word for it. If you want to find trades like this, come over to the Patreon. You'll get a lot of education. You'll learn how to identify this type of stuff, and you can support the channel, and I would love that. Come join me on Instagram and Twitter so you can stay up to date more frequently, and let me know down in the comments what you think about my price target or the trade setup. And stay safe out there, guys. I love you. See you in the next one. Peace.